talk about corporate soul healing.
Yes.
And how music can help that happen, can make
That's right.
that, can manifest that.
Yeah.
How are you?
Well, polyphonic. I always say polyphonic. You know what that means?
I know what it means. Yes, yes.
All at the same time.
Different things at the same time. Yes, yes. I'm much the same.
So young. What have you been doing since I've seen you last time?
I've got quite fit.
Okay. Well, healing the corporate soul. Let's go.
Yeah. I think it's a really interesting time to talk to you about this because people are, I don't know how you're experiencing it, Miha, but people are struggling. They don't know what to do. They're looking for new inspirations, etc.
We improvise. We have enough time. Let me do my stuff on the board and the violin at some point. And we concentrate on this problem that we have right now, and that's what is needed right now immediately.
Okay. I think that's right. I think the challenge that a lot of people that do things like you and I do is that previously we may have been trying to inspire or try and help them with strategy. And I think that is still valid, but today what people need is solutions for what they're currently having to deal with. So things have become, I don't know if you've experienced this, but I think things have become much, the English word is myopic, much more focused, on, oh my God, I've got a problem here. I've got to set up a business as a remote business, or I've got to close my HQ, or how do I motivate my people when they're all over the country or all over the world, if they're a distributed business. These are the real issues now. And I think doing anything else, whilst it's still good, it's not as useful to those companies as it was a year ago. Does that make sense?
Yes, makes sense. I will talk about approach. I call this Parsifal question. Learning to ask the question of compassion, because that opens people up, and that's what I call corporate soul healing. But I'm going to then go very deep into this main topic. I think it's good they get one topic from me, one topic very clear, not too many. Because
no.
Yeah, and then I will show them the transfer, how the musical detour works. How in order to heal the problem, you cannot go directly; you have to go around, and that's why I'll show how music helps with that.
Okay.
Post-COVID corporate soul healing. Let's call it post-COVID, so it's hopeful that it's not we are in the middle of this shit.
Right. So today we're going to speak about post-COVID corporate soul healing. Now there's a mouthful. Miha, what do you mean by corporate soul healing? What does that mean?
Well, my dear friend, what it is, in this situation in which we find ourselves, people are full of frustration. They are alone. They are distanced. They have in a pain. They are basically in a very different inner condition than what we are used to. So it's for all in fear is everywhere. So you see, in this desperation, it is really extremely important to sort of ask the question, what is the most important thing right now? And I call this corporate soul healing, because I say we need to learn or grow into a mode where we learn how to ask a question of compassion, our fellow human beings, our colleagues, a genuine question of compassion. Not like, how are you today? This is over with no substance. And so it is really, really putting yourself in a position of your colleague, of another person, and then meet yourself out of the other person. So to say, ask them truly with all compassion you can have this question. I call it a Parsifal question, from the great epic Parsifal, who whole life long has to learn to ask this question in the right moment, in the right place, which is in the great castle. And then everything changes, you see. Yes. And the reason I'm so much trying to give emphasis on this question is because once you ask that question, genuinely, really, honestly, then people come suddenly back with all the pains they have, and they reveal to you their real situation, and they open up and they give you trust, because you don't tell people what you really feel about things if you don't trust. So it, suddenly the whole situation changes, and then together you can climb to the next level. And that is where the strengths lie. Now we have here music. And that's the reason we are talking. You have been great enough to notice many years ago what an extraordinary help and tool it can be. I call this creative detour. So I take my clients on creative detour, which means we get the attention away from immediate pressure of wherever they are in their company and so on, and we go through music and discover solutions in the masterpiece. The masterpiece. So tell me, if you wish, I can just start and show how that would work, for instance, with the question.
Could I take you back just a little bit for the listeners, because there are a few things there that I'd just like to unpack a little bit, Miha, if we could, because you talked about the sort of the suffering that people are experiencing. Why is that? Is that because the connection with the outer world has changed, or is it because we are not experiencing our inner selves as we used to, because we're not getting the regular feedback of being in a company? Or what causes that pain? Just go into that a little bit, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get it. Imagine a chief executive is watching this and she says to herself, why would I be interested in this corporate soul healing? It sounds quite new age. I'm not quite sure it's my thing. Why would I care about that if I was a chief executive? What would you say to her?
Look, then call it culture.
Yeah.
If you want, because corporate soul is really corporate culture, a special culture, which is environment that sort of inspires you and makes you work and connect 100%. So, so we can call it culture healing, but soul healing is, I think, more gripping, because we are talking now to individuals. It is, you ask, how does it feel? Well, people are isolated. Isolation is really quite a damn thing,
Yes.
And besides being isolated, then you have to connect through the underworld, so to say, so through digital world, which is below nature. It's more dead than the dead in nature, stones. So this sub-nature, which I call, has to be now put into balance with supranature, above nature. I've been talking recently about this question of back to the normal. Now people say they are yearning to get back to normal. I say no, they are pushed into new normal, which means down into the digital normal. And what I would suggest is to go beyond normal, above normal, which means genius. Who wants to be normal after all? Normal people, how boring. You want to have normal people employed? Normal people. I say normality is curse of humanity. We always want to go above normal, and that's now the issue at stake with this crisis, that we noticed we must reinvent ourselves, and reinventing our relationships in organization. How do we deal with people? And there we are with this Parsifal question. Do not always think this. Watch out. Usually, business opportunity, you are in certain constellation, and the first thought that comes, what can I pull out of this for me? Me. What can I get out of this for me? And that is going to determine how you speak, how you ask questions or whatever, in order to get things out. This does not work in a crisis. In a crisis, you have to educate yourself, really turn to the fellow human being and help them to come out with the essence, and they will do the same to you then. Turn. And that is what I call question of compassion. Now look, if I play the beginning of the masterpiece, can you hear? That's a question, isn't it? But what kind of question? It's not only question, it says, it encompasses a lot, because it goes like this. You see, it reaches into a totality of fellow human being. It's not like pragmatic question. What's your account number? So the feeling comes in. So Then comes next one.
Oh yeah.
And after each phrase, there is a pause, which means there is reflection. How much do we reflect in our time? We just move. It's about question and reflection. And the first question goes out. What is your outer pressure? That is your middle. The next one goes in. Can you hear? Goes in.
Yes.
That means when you ask your fellow human being, your colleague, question of compassion, then you ask also yourself, what is my problem? We are all running around with so many unresolved issues, aren't we?
Yes. Oh,
with
yes.
so many dilemmas we schlep around. So it is at the same time addressing outside, addressing inside. And that creates the environment to take off in another direction.
Okay.
You see? And that's how the master...
I ask you a question on that, because you've touched something that I didn't think we would, because I know that your view on digital is not particularly positive, but because now we are communicating like this, Miha, it's no matter how many people you're actually speaking to in the digital room, you're actually only speaking to one person at any one time, right? It used to be, if you and I, when we used to do live events together, we'd have hundreds of people in front of us. Yeah. But now it doesn't matter how many hundreds of people are tuning in. The reality is you're only speaking to one person at a time. That's the reality. Does that mean, and I might be completely wrong here, Miha, but does that mean that what you're saying is even more important now, because the leader, he or she has to learn to speak to one person many, many times, rather than being on broadcast mode to hundreds of people? Does that make sense? You hear what I'm saying? Yeah,
it makes sense. Furthermore, what I would say is that now we are not giving advisory for everybody, PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
We are now forced, by the way, I call it PowerPoint without power. Yeah. Yeah. We are now forced to sort of focus and to connect to this one person you are talking about. I'm speaking to you, and of course everybody else is invited to be participating in our conversation.
Lovely.
And if our conversation is genuine, then other people will also get some things out of it which might be helpful and useful in this situation.
Okay. I love that, Miha. Okay. So how does that link to the idea of the soul and the sort of fixing this broken culture or broken soul that you talked about earlier? What's the link?
The link is that this is an old problem. It's not something that only surfaced now with Corona time. We have always had this problem in organizations, namely how to connect with what you do.
Yeah. Okay.
We artists, when we start playing, we connect 100%.
Yes.
When we play masterpiece. Yes. Because the masterpiece demands a total immersion.
Yes.
But
right.
Organization doesn't demand there, because it's not a masterpiece yet. Yes. I would say if organization would be composed in such a way that everybody finds the ultimate meaning in participating, then they would connect very differently than they connect when they have a job. When they have job description, and then you connect. I mean, if you are paid more or less, it's certainly not 100%. It's much less. And this is what we like to share with non-artists. But I say there are no non-artists. Every human being has artists somewhere inside, covered up, not acknowledged. But if we make it possible for this inner artist in everybody to surface suddenly, then people will start actually demanding that organizational structure and process would be more artistic, so that you can connect. So meaning would be everywhere, and that's what's missing. Masterpiece is full of meaning. Every moment is meaningful, and this meaning, lack of meaning, which one could say also lack of purpose, because that's very similar, meaning and purpose, then that makes you connect. And that's what's missing. And now when Corona came, this is now becoming very open. So the wound is now suddenly exposed. Now connecting is the secret. So why do I then work with masterpieces? Because I like to take my clients now on a detour through the masterpiece, but not only playing. I play and stop and paint and help connect the attention with exactly what is happening, because masterpiece is organic. It has inner living structure, and if we know how to listen, saying into a parenthesis, we are born with hearing, but we must learn to listen. That's a difference,
Yes,
you can hear something, but if you don't know how to listen, you don't hear it. So I help them to sharpen the observation of hearing, observation and experience, feelings. So they go with me through the masterpiece, exactly what's there. They do not just react. Many people like it and enjoy it. So what? If you only enjoy it, that does not give you any new learning.
No,
you just enjoy. That's entertainment. But we go beyond. We go into real structure, process, evolution of masterpiece, and at the same time we are watching for transfer. What is the learning? How does the masterpiece deal with the dilemmas and with challenges, and how does it come out victoriously on the next level? And this is what I'm going to share with you when we are at that point.
Yes. Let me just again bring you back to our chief executive. Now, there are some similarities that you've drawn out there again that I hadn't necessarily connected before. You have the musical score. You have the score for the orchestra, and you have the conductor conducting the orchestra. In the workplace, I guess the corollary of the score is the measurement, is the key performance indicators, is all the data they collect, and the chief executive is perhaps the conductor. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Could be, yes.
Could be. I'm not sure about this. I'm just, it's top of my head stuff. But what I'm not clear about is that in the environment where you thrive, in the with all your, you once said to me, everyone in the orchestra is an expert. Everyone in the orchestra has got to that peak performance level. And how do you get to the point where they go beyond the score? They don't just fall. Because I see that in organizations all the time. Companies are restricted by measurement, I believe. I think that we've gone too far with measurement. I one of the things I'm very keen on at the moment is to say to companies, stop measuring so much. Let people be freer. But I'm struggling to get this absolutely clear, Miha. But I think there's something here between these two different domains, the musical domain and the business domain, where they both have underlying foundations of information, which is the score on one side and the measurement KPIs on the other side. Think about that. Could you just think out loud about what I've just said? Is there a connection? Is it similar, or am I? Yeah. What do you think?
Yes, this is a very good question. A question of compassion. Well, look, Scott. First of all, what I don't like is your very first word that you said, chief exec. Chief executive officer means the officer who executes, which means kills. I strongly recommend to change that, because investing into company and vision and strategy, and then you kill it because you execute it.
I love it.
What's the problem? So I always say, don't call them chief exec, call them chief empowerment officers. It's also or whatever, but keep away from military, please. I always tell people, no more bullet points. That doesn't work. You have holes. All right. So now to the question. Don't forget, I'm speaking about masterpieces, not about entertainment, songs or any kind of pop music. I'm speaking about masterpiece, and that is organic, whole, genius, meaningful, which means with such material you can go very deep into the sphere of archetypes. You come to the archetypal experience, and archetypes are the layer of human life or of human experience where things can be transferred. There you can have, the metaphors of life and death. They can be also in organizational terms. So no, it's not just human life and death. So when you come to the sphere of archetypes, suddenly you can start making connections between different domains of life, science, basically, for instance, Masterpiece is so meaningful and such a brilliant composition that if you immerse into that, then you are not bound to then stick to that particular archetypal journey in order to heal the, let's say, current disruptive spirit of economic problems that we have as a result of Corona. So, which means if you live through a beautiful totality of Masterpiece, that equips you. You become out empowered, if you want, to deal with something very different outwardly, but with a similar inner challenges and solutions.
Okay.
So we are not thinking directly to transfer Masterpiece in organization. That is not possible. But you can learn certain steps that are in music leading to a completion, to beauty, to meaning, to brilliant experience, while in a business we don't have that kind of experience to deal with.
Okay.
But learning from the Masterpiece, we then get ourselves so vibrant and, what shall I say, creative when we confront organizational problems and challenges that we suddenly can solve them. Okay. And on the surface, it may look like this has nothing to do with my musical detour, but deeper, it is very much connected. Why? Okay. Because music uncovers potentials in people, and those potentials are very unique. And this is my, what should I say, credo, why I work in business. I say, I'm a violinist. How could I possibly suggest or consult very complex business issues? I couldn't. But I can create an environment where my participants suddenly can reach into their own potential and uncover their own artist within. And suddenly they are equipped with solutions, which are their own solutions. And that is ideal, because if solutions is passed on to you or sold on you, you do not really go for it, only maybe half-heartedly.
Right, okay.
But if you have your own solution, really your very own creation, then of course you are going to go for it and get it implemented.
Okay. Well, let me. Anyone watching this that's never seen you do this before, they're in for a treat. I would like to unleash you on this and for you to talk us through the process that you would take an individual. Let's talk about an individual through to get to the point where you get them to the artist within. How do you get them to that point? How do you prime them, Miha? What do you do with your flip chart and your music to get them to that point?
Well, look, if I say to you or to anybody else, question of compassion, this is now abstract term. Yeah. So what?
Yes.
Which means let us now look into the Masterpiece. How does Masterpiece deepen this question? Or one could say, how does the question that may be at the outset very deep somewhere, how does it work itself to the surface?
Okay.
What is the journey of this question becoming real so that it moves mountains? Yeah. So that's, but that means we have to go through Masterpiece. We have to together decide now, next 10 minutes, let's listen. Let's participate in this evolution. So I invite you and your friends now on quick journey of this particular short masterpiece by Johann Sebastian Bach, Largo, from the third sonata in C major. Yeah. I'm going to now take this as a journey of passion, compassion question working itself to the surface. Yeah. And what is the result of it? What happens around it? Like when you throw this stone in the water, now the waves come around. So in that sense, okay.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
So we start. We start in the left corner with this double question. Yes, we said first asking other one and then asking oneself. Now, So let me paint that. It says first, and the other one. So now, if you throw the stone, now comes the waves, which means you asked this question with real integrity. Now then comes the answer, or reaction, or opening up. So listen. Now.
Yeah.
Can you hear?
Yeah.
Oh, that everything opens up. Now tell me, isn't that something we want in our social relationships with people? That they open up and tell us, yes, these are my problems. Thanks for asking. So what it is? Well, it says, it comes from periphery, from everywhere comes this kind of relief. Now listen once again. But that's not the end. Now it goes on, it grows. Now the next step is more questions. Can you hear two voices, which means they now join. Next level is not one asking, the other answering. Now they go together. And what happened? So it's like this. It says question, 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 3 times question. But what is specific? Look, something now. This is a little bit musical term, but I'll quickly explain. It is, this is called octave. The same note repeats itself on the next level.
Next level, yeah.
Musically, as experience, that means relationship between ego and I. Between ego, beginning, and completion, the I.
Yes,
so
yes.
Now 3 times there is a question. But it says, there we have to go to the highest. Next one. Can you see it?
Yeah. Yes.
And now, the last thing that happens then. What do we hear? It says. Can you hear this rounding? It is like suddenly opens a gateway, a portal. Yeah, so let's hear it. So, because we come to this level, we can now go through the portal to the next level. Now we are at the next level already.
Yes.
So what we have is 1, 2, 3, 4 stages to come, one could say, to the bodily beginning. Now comes the soul. And at the end comes the spirit. Then this way the whole human being is included in this journey. So now we go through this portal. So what is going to be the next level? Yeah, well, the next level is going to have much more strength and much more intimacy at the same time. So we are now, intensifying this first experience. Let's say. gentle,
Yes.
the beginning. What does it mean? I call it the power of gentle, the gentle power, something that we do not value enough in business. Because when something is gentle, we call it also feminine quality, the feminine principle. We think it has to be all hard and tough as a nail. No, gentle can be extremely powerful, even
This
the
is,
right moment. So let's go on. Yeah.
Wow.
What happened? What happened? That we started again, beginning, a new beginning, the new beginning, a question, and then now comes many, I think 5 times the question. 5 times, because now we are on the next level and we get to go deeper. Let me play once again. What is the following? Second. Third one. Another one. Another one. And now.
Lovely. Yeah.
Did you hear that explosion?
Absolutely.
Now it comes, like a sun. Everything is circling around in enormous intensification of the feelings, reaching to everything, not just little me. No, the whole. And gateway? So I'll be soon finished. Just now comes again the gateway,
Yeah.
And it goes through now to the final phase. What now, the question, what can happen after such a encompassing, all-encompassing feeling? What is still possible? Now listen. Just a golden thread.
Yes.
Everything is gone. Concentration on one tiny, tiny melody.
Yes.
And it ends with big question. Again.
Yes.
It breaks off. Actually, it dies. It dies. No.
Yes. Yes.
I call this power of productive resignation.
Oh,
This
lovely.
is very important terminology for real transformation. The power of productive resignation, where you have everything you know, all your knowledge, your capability, or power you have, you let go and permit something else to arise that you don't know what it is.
Lovely.
So now listen.
Yeah.
There it is. That's the final question. Uncle, what ails you? You know, in Parsival. Or
Yes.
dear colleague, you know, what is your... So now it's there. The question has surfaced. There it is. Bam!
Yes.
Big question. There it is. And then we can conclude. Then it's the end. Then it's in F major. It has to do with
Yeah.
love. And there we are. There it is. The grail. You know.
Yes.
You come to your essence. Here. Okay, so
Very good.
thank you for giving this time, because it's impossible to just explain. You have to go through. But you see, first level, second level, which expands outwardly, and the third level, one could say, has to give in, has to sort of leave behind all these super experiences. It only goes to the one goal. How do I find my true self?
Yes.
How can I let everything go and permit that something emerges? And then you come to your goal. All right. So, shall I play once through so we have completed performance?
Can we? But just one or two questions,
Please,
because I think that was beautiful, Miha. the central part, the second part is gloriously beautiful. I love it. But there's a couple of things that I think that you've brought out for me that are really interesting. First of all, is the bridge, the gentle bridge. You call it compassion. It could be linked to vulnerability.
Yes.
Vulnerability is a strength. We're seeing more and more people talking about vulnerability now. More and more people are experiencing vulnerability right now, which is really interesting. There's also the part about death, and that brought into my mind one of the things that I was talking about last night on my storytelling live broadcast was about how we all experience moments where we change. We the adolescent self is not the same as the 20-year-old. The 20-year-old is not the same as the 30-year-old.
Yes.
And we often fight against these moments. We don't want to become, we don't, it's like if you're having a baby, you're not the same person after you've had a baby, or if you're changing job. When I went from working in the scientific community, working in business, I really resisted it.
Yeah. And I should say that to that I want to add, the life starts with 70. Before it's all preparation.
Yes,
So,
but I think that point though is that even in that moment at the end with the death, and then the sort of the fantastic final piece, which we'll hear all together in a minute, that's important, because a lot of people right now are seeing part of their life they were very happy with is dying, whether they like it or not. It's dying. And I think we've got a responsibility as people working in this space, as leaders, as thinkers, to say to them, but you're used to that. We see that in everyone's life, that you're not the same as you were when you were a teenager, but you felt great when you were a teenager, but you're no longer that person.
Something died in you, which was that one-sided teenagerishness. Dies. But that does not mean that you are completely dead. It's something, in order to get new things, some things have to go. So new things come, and that's exactly the point. I'm so glad you have a skull behind you there on the wall. I can connect with that, because death should be seen in other context. not something only fearful, but actually something that is happening all the time in life. All the time in us, something is dying, something new is born. Also on the organic level.
Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Well, with that, I think I should give you the opportunity to just show us the whole piece, because it's beautiful.
We have to redeem it, because when I play and stop and comment, of course I kill the music. Now we can have it one as a totality, as a conclusion. And beside the way, it was wonderful talking to you, Scott. I hope it's not the last time.
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah.
Wow. That ending is just beautiful, isn't it? Thank you very much, Miha. That was brilliant. I'm feeling quite emotional.
Well,
it's quite glorious.
Isn't it meaningful to connect beauty and work? I say, because we are so we divide these things in life, but they are one. I'll tell you, that's why I think that in the future, every company that will want to be alive and healthy will have two centers at the top. Like human being, you have left and right. They will not have only a boardroom, which is for one type of solutions. They will have inspiration room, inspiration center. That is the future. So then you have totality. There are so many problems you cannot deal with at boardroom level. It doesn't go, because you have to take, take human being on another journey to reach the heart, really. So that's what is going to be in the future. And I'm pleased that you are touched, because you know better the boardroom situation, but you work a lot with arts lately, as far as I know.
Yes.
So that connecting those two would be like European type of future company.
Wow, lovely, absolutely glorious. I think it's so interesting how, having known you for, gosh, 15 years, 16 years, your message has finessed and has become, I mean, you used to talk about human resonance, and I think you still do, but I think the fact that you've embraced the complexity of what we're having to experience now is quite glorious. And I think the connection between, you know, the growth, the question, the vulnerability, the death, the growth, the question, the vulnerability, the death is fantastic. And I'm sure anyone listening to this can think back into their own experience, Miha, and say, yeah, I've experienced that in my life. Obviously we all have. But then the chief executive, who we don't want to call the chief executive anymore, he or she can start to think about, okay, maybe I need to appreciate things in a completely different way. I need to think about the cycle that Miha has beautifully demonstrated today. Beautiful.
Well, then let us finish with resonance. Here!
Oh, here he goes. Oh, dear.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, that's excellent. Thanks, Miha. That was very good. What a nutter.